in Canada right now. So she's on the other side of the world from us, and well, from me anyway. And she has an extensive experience in what we're talking about today. She has done so much background work in this area. She's accredited with Luminous Spark, if you're interested or heard about that. Really interesting tool. And she's worked with in 14 different countries. Like, she has done this for quite a period of time over many different countries. So it's a really diverse background that and experience of applied knowledge that she's bringing with it to us today. So I am so excited to be able to see. I always learn something new. I'm going to be sitting in the background, just helping out and doing a few things, but I'll also be listening because what she's going to share with us today is going to be amazing. So over to you, Cecilia.
Okay, thank you, Barb. Good morning. Welcome. It's really good to have you here. And I want to thank you for taking the time out, taking 90 minutes of your time to invest in yourself, to invest in your resilience skills. And today we're talking about the modern workplace. So, our tagline is how to really future proof your skills. Now, I've been studying resilience for a number of years. You know that it was a big topic during the global pandemic, whereas before it was a nice to have, but after COVID, it became a must have skill. And I personally find it has been overrated a little bit, just this constant talk about resilience. And due to my research and the last few years immersing in it, I have found that adding some other dimensions really make it applicable and actionable. And so this is the design that I'm presenting to you today. Our master classes are always about adding value. They're about being contemporary. So what was a resilience topic a year ago is different today. Just think about how much has changed in the last 6 to 12 months. So I have done even more research on agility, on the modern workplace, and how automation is affecting us today. So we're going to be combining all of this. We're packaging it in a way that's easy for you to process, easy for you to get. Barb and I are big on research and keeping our fingers on the pulses of what's happening in the world right now. So we're doing the legwork and we're packaging it in hopefully in a very engaging and interactive way. So get set. I recommend you have a piece of paper or a notebook and a pen ready because we're going to be sharing a lot of tools with you today. Hopefully tools that you can apply immediately and also share with your team members and your coworkers. So I'm going to jump in and get started. I've got my PowerPoint ready here. And the topic is master emotional resilience. We're going to talk about emotional resilience, honing in on the topic of resilience, and to really look at how to bring that into our modern workplace, our chaotic, exciting, automated, and rapidly changing modern workplace. So, the objectives we will be talking about agility and resilience in maintaining your high performance. We're also going to be focusing on resourceful tools that you can use in your day to day. And as I said, where our aim is for you to have a personalized resilience toolkit. And I want to talk briefly about the Hinwood Institute. The name itself, the Hinwood Institute, where did this come from? Well, as you can see here, we are working with the name that is honoring Dr. John Hinwood. He passed away in 2020 and he left behind a huge legacy and a career, lifetime career of of stress management techniques and focusing on well-being in the workplace. Michael Massey and Barbara Clifford were good friends of Dr. John Hinwood, and in 2021 they they formed the Hinwood Institute to honor Dr. John Hinwood's legacy. And in 2025, I joined as an associate. So, forward to today, this is Barb and I. And earlier this year in June, this is us in Phuket, we had our strategic marketing and strategic planning meeting. And the new face of, of the Hinwood Institute is really about bringing both our years of experience into the work that we're delivering. We're a couple of Gen Xers. We have a combined over 50 years of work experience. And we learned people skills way back before the internet, before email. Barb is based in Australia and I'm based in Canada. We deliver programs virtually around the world and with a focus on the Asia Pacific region. So we bring the human side. That is our focus, human skills. We are very comfortable working with difficult, awkward, and challenging, uncomfortable aspects of the workplace on topics such as leading change, difficult relationships, resolving conflict, challenging conversations, and also team dysfunction. So, in a nutshell, we're both genuine, we're unabashed. As you can see here, we're also a lot of fun. I like to say we're imperfectly human, but we bring a lot of experience and we're very passionate about supporting others. So, our focus at the Hinwood Institute is to help you become a resilient leader through these 6 key pillars. The pillar we're focusing on today is essential human skills, emotional intelligence. And we have a lot of content on communication skills. Barb and I both have a lot of experience training and facilitating on Talk Smart. Feel Good at Work is workplace well-being. Mission Control is my area of expertise. I spent the last 15 years in leadership development. And Tame Your Time is definitely Barb's area. She is known as a time tamer, and she is a sought after and award-winning trainer on the topic of productivity. Better Together is about team performance. It's also another topic that I'm passionate about. Today, we're talking about the 21st century workplace. And if you look at this very futuristic office, and in fact, I'm pretty sure that somewhere out there in the world today, this type of office exists. When you take a look at that, you think, wow, that looks like way far into the future. But my thought is this could be around the corner for many of us. And I'd like to just have you stop for a moment and think about automation and what changes you have experienced in your role. And in a moment, I'm going to ask you to take out your phone because we're going to go into a Slido. And for our Slido, I encourage all of you to participate. And the Slido I'm going to ask you to scan the QR code and you're going to input your answer to a question I'm going to pose. And this question is, what is the biggest automation or change trend that's affecting your role? So if you just pull out your phone and scan the QR code, and if you don't have your phone, you're on your laptop, that's okay. Just key in slido.com and key in that number. And please input your answer. You could answer as many times as you like. And if you see an answer that is similar to yours, you could add the same answer and we will create a word cloud together. Just like to get a sense of what we're experiencing. What are some of the changes that are affecting you right now? So please go ahead and scan the code. And feel free to input your answer. I'd love to hear from you. Love to see what's happening in this room right now. What's going on for you? And your name will not show up. So whatever you input will just show, your answer will show up without your name. Content creation, yes. It's making your life a little easier. Social media and marketing, definitely. So from what I can see so far, it's the kind of automation that's making your lives easier. But maybe AI taking 50% of your core business is not making it easier. Hi, Samara, welcome. We're just doing a Slido, getting some input, so please feel free to scan the code and then answer. What's the biggest automation or trend change that's affecting your role right now? Customer service replaced by AI, yes. But you're getting a lot of support in document creation? Mhm. Okay, you're able to do events at larger scale. So I'm seeing that there's a split. There's a portion that's finding the convenience and receiving more support from automation. And then there's another side, which is it could potentially be taking over some, replacing some jobs. But for the most part, right now, we can use it to our advantage, how it's providing us support. So I'll just leave it for another minute. And if you want to input any more answers, please go ahead. So let's just take a look at that as a group. You're able to do more. So in fact, automation can work in our favor. So in a moment, I'm going to show you a video. And this video is called Did You Know? Did You Know is an online resource. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it. I started referring to this in 2012 when I was delivering training on continuous improvement. And it's a just a collection of statistics based on technological advances. And I am just completely stunned at how much has changed since 2012. And I would update every year. So 2025 compared to 13 years ago when I started using this is just not even comparable. Now, I'm going to ask you to absorb and take in some of these stats, and don't worry about writing anything down. I'm going to send you a link to this video if you want to absorb and get the exact information. And I just want to add that this was created by a dean of Porto Business School in Portugal, Jose Esteves, who's also the head of digital strategy. And all of the statistics that you see has a reference as well. So it's only going to take about three minutes, and let's Okay, all right. I'm just gonna stop sharing for a moment. And that's a lot of information to take in, isn't it? I'm gonna ask you to just have a think about what stood out to you, and I'm gonna stop recording and love to hear from you. Please just resume. So I'm sure many of you know Daniel Goleman, who is the father of emotional intelligence. When he came out with his book in the 90s, it was groundbreaking. And he says to this day, he stands by this, that human emotional intelligence is the single biggest predictor of performance in the workplace. And it is the strongest driver of leadership and personal excellence. Now, I've known this for a long time, meaning that in my training, always emphasize emotional intelligence, but it was always reduced in the priority. Other skills were always more prominent. But here he says that a significant percentage of top performers, up to 90% in some studies, demonstrate high emotional intelligence, which cannot be automated yet. At the moment, still cannot be automated. And in the Future of Jobs report 2025 by the World Economic Forum, the number one skill is analytical thinking. AI can help us with analytical thinking, but the critical thinking, the decision making part is really a human skill, which connects with the number two skill, resilience, flexibility, and agility. These are in demand skills. And rounding out the top three, leadership and social influence. Now, we're not going to be touching upon the other skills, equally important, but our masterclass today will focus and touch upon these top three. And here's a very brief
What are the
video.
most essential skills in the workplace of tomorrow? The 2025 Future of Jobs report surveyed over 1,000 company executives to find out which skills they're looking for right now and which ones are set to grow over the next 5 years. Among the top core skills for 2025 are analytical thinking, resilience, and leadership skills. Cybersecurity, talent management, and environmental skills will see large growth in the next 5 years. By 2030, the core skills will look a little different. AI and big data skills will see the biggest rise, joining analytical thinking and resilience and flexibility among the top. Find out how you can be ready with the Future of Jobs report.
So, resilience and agility are superpowers in the 21st century workplace. That's what we'll be focusing on. From here onwards, that's what we'll be talking about. And to future proof your skills, our design today is focusing on 4 skills. And the first one I'm going to be talking about is emotional resilience. Why is this so important? It's the ability to recognize and regulate emotions and recover from emotional setbacks. This is an incredible skill because it builds trust and credibility. People follow those who are calm and steady and who show leadership. Trust is a durable advantage that automation cannot replace. And we're going to talk about a bit about being able to recognize emotions, and it's the regulation part that is key here because we're all going to be experiencing setbacks. It's still a chaotic world out there. We're dealing with human emotions. How do we recover from emotional setbacks? The second one is psychological resilience. Now, resilience is a big topic, so we've teased it out into 2 sections, emotional and psychological. And it is your capacity to overcome adversity and be able to persist through uncertainty, ambiguity, and risk. More importantly, how quickly are you able to return to purposeful action instead of going into avoidance or rigid control? So, with our constant pace of change, those who can tolerate ambiguity, maintain hope, and still take small constructive steps will signal leadership readiness. And then the third skill is prospection. Prospection is the ability to mentally simulate plausible futures, to evaluate risks and signals. Like, I want to emphasize that this is not worrying about the future. This is applying analytical thinking and to evaluate risks and signals and being able to choose actions that will make desirable futures more likely. Now, this is adapted from a book called Tomorrow Mind, which we'll be giving away at the end of our masterclass today as a prize. Now, why it future-proofs your skills? When the future is nonlinear, predicting is not the best route. Rehearsing multiple futures prepares you to adapt quickly and reduces emotional shock. The last one we'll be talking about today is cognitive agility. We talked about agility. This is the flexibility part. It's being able to shift perspective and reframe outlook. It's the ability to update beliefs with new evidence and to reframe problems to reveal more options. It's what we call mental flexibility under pressure and allows you to move with agility, make decisions quickly through divergent thinking. I will share a little bit more about each skill, and each skill comes with tools and techniques that you can apply right away. So, first one is emotional resilience. It is about being able to recognize emotions and regulate your state effectively and recover from emotional setbacks. We talk a lot about emotional resilience in our workshops because we are using a lot of stress management techniques left left by Dr. John Hinwood. To take it a little further, I've been studying emotional resilience quite intensely for the last year. And I came across this great book, this book called Permission to Feel by Dr. Mark Brackett, who is the founder of the Emotional Intelligence Center at Yale University. He talks about the importance of increasing awareness about our emotions and being able to regulate them and learning how to use them wisely. He recommends being an emotion scientist and to be curious about our emotions instead of judging or pushing them away. And another expert called Dr. Susan David, who wrote the book Emotional Agility, and she is a psychologist at Harvard University. She says that emotions are data points. They provide information that we can act on. So the richer our emotional language, the more we understand granularity with our emotions, the more resilient we are at managing the highs and lows, because we will be hit with stress triggers throughout the day. During the course of a workday, we can encounter many stressful situations and our emotions are affected. So if we're able to regulate and manage our emotions, we can be better at attention, at memory, at learning, at decision making, overall performance, definitely creativity. It's hard to be creative and innovative if we're locked in a negative emotional state. It affects the relationships we have in our lives, our physical and mental health. So this is really important. This is a key foundation. And I'm trying to make a case here, but I think you are aware, you will agree that this is important. So emotional regulation, which we're going to be talking about very shortly, or what Daniel Goleman calls self-management, is key here in our masterclass today. So it's not about pushing emotions aside. It's about learning how to identify them and then regulate. So I want to start off with some unhelpful regulation strategies. So Mark Brackett, during COVID, now to be fair, this survey was taken during the global pandemic. He surveyed over 5,000 educators across the US and in some cases in internationally. These are educators and teachers. He asked them what their coping mechanisms, what their regulation strategies were. And of course, as you can recall, teachers, many of us were under extreme stress and pressure. And these are some of the regulation strategies. Online shopping, screaming was one, oversleeping, alcohol, wine, watching trash TV, overthinking and ruminating, avoiding the issue altogether, consuming social media, obsessive cleaning. Now, I am one who will say, yes, I've used these strategies from time to time. And you might say, well, what's so wrong with these strategies? They provide immediate relief and they don't cost any money. And in some cases, you get a clean house out of it. So pushing our emotions away is not a long-term strategy. They do not solve the root cause. And overusing these strategies could potentially turn into harmful habits. I think we all know that. And what we want to understand is how we can regulate our emotions a little bit in a more healthy way. And even just last week, I found myself like reaching out for some junk food or wanting to turn on the TV to not feel that uncomfortable emotion as it's surfacing. So a child psychologist who's based in Canada here, called Jodie Carrington, she said that mindless phone scrolling is the quickest and most accessible non-prescription painkiller we have. It's so easy to just go to our phone, and we have another term for it now. It's called doom scrolling. So whenever you find yourself reaching out your phone and scrolling, or you spend an hour looking at Instagram videos, note that it could be a regulation strategy, and maybe we could pivot to one that's a little bit more healthy. And we are going to look at these because once we're in a healthy emotional state, we can move forward. We can handle a lot more when we're grounded and calm. And Barb, I came across this one of your posts. Emotional resilience thrives when your brain gets time to reflect and reset. This is by Dr. John Hinwood. So just take a deep breath. I'd like you to take all that in and think about what are some helpful regulation strategies that you already use. And whenever you see that toolbox, that icon, it means that I'm going to be sharing with you some resilience, some techniques, some tools. I'm going to ask you to write down a tool that you like, because here you are going to be creating your personalized resilience toolkit. So I'm not going to deep dive. I'm going to talk about them briefly. And if you are interested, we do run a half-day workshop called Foundations of Emotional Resilience, where we really talk through stress reduction strategies and we talk about these techniques in depth. But I'm going to introduce a few of them to you. And I made sure that I'm introducing the ones that are quick and easy. And also look out for Barb's upcoming masterclass called From Smashed to Smashing It. She'll be focusing on stress management. I'm going to kick off with a simple technique that has been researched quite extensively, mostly at UCLA and Stanford University. And Dr. Andrew Huberman, I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with him. I'm a bit of a fan because he has incredible stress management techniques. He is a huge advocate of this one tool. And this one tool he claims as the single most effective method to reduce stress in the moment with immediate results. And he makes this claim because meditation or yoga or going out doing forest bathing, these are great emotional regulation techniques, but they need you to step out of your situation. What if you need it in the moment? What if you are experiencing a lot of stress and panic in the moment? So this technique is accessible to everyone, anytime, anywhere. And it's called the physiological sigh. So anyone here heard of the physiological sigh? It's a great technique, really simple. Let me demonstrate and show you. It's taking a deep inhale and then another one at the top. So that's two. And then letting it out with a big sigh. So do that again. And you do, like even just doing 2 sets of these, I'm already feeling something tingling. I'm already feeling a change of state. And when we're stressed, we get locked up, and a lot of carbon dioxide is generated in the body. So this physiological sigh releases the carbon dioxide. So I'm gonna This quick one is available to you, and you can teach this to your children. You could share this with colleagues. You could do this before going into a presentation, going to a meeting that you're a little nervous about. Remember, physiological sigh, a very simple technique that can be applied anytime. And it's subtle as well. Just so I have a few more to share with you here. And this is always a good regulation technique, just looking at a cute stuffed animal or having your pet around. So I'll go through these very quickly. Relaxation, mindfulness practices, I highly recommend. If you have a few in place, please continue. They are the best for maintaining mental health. Breathing exercises, I just demonstrated the physiological sigh. I have one more to show you because breathing is so simple and so effective. One that I like is also very simple. It's called eye movements, left to right eye movements. And this one is an interesting one because human beings are designed to walk. And when we walk and we walk tall, we actually feel more certain and we feel stronger when we stand up. And when we scan the environment, that is a signal that we are safe because we're scanning the environment for threats. So we have lost our ability to use our eye movements because we're constantly staring at a computer screen. We're actually stuck in one movement. And phone scrolling is another one. Our eyes are very centered on the phone. So eye movements is just a very simple exercise, just to scan left to right, left to right. And I do this when I'm driving and I'm at a stoplight. So I'll just scan just to exercise and get this sense of safety and security. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grounding is a great one. This one. This one is just stop. You're feeling a little agitated, you're feeling emotions come up. Do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5, look around and spot 5 things that you can see. Notice 4 things that you can touch. What you're sitting on, the pen in your hand, the mouse under on your mouse pad, and then 3 things that you can hear. What are the sounds that you're noticing? Two things that you can smell, and 1 that you can taste. This will ground you and get you to a calm state pretty quickly. NSDR, I'm a huge fan. I discovered this about a year ago. And if you want to look this up, NSDR stands for non-sleep deep rest. For those of you who like efficiency, a 45-minute NSDR session will give you 4 hours of REM sleep, is equivalent to 4 hours. Now, that to me is very efficient. But if you don't have 45 minutes to do a meditation, then I would recommend looking up Yoga Nidra guided meditations, somewhere for 10 minutes, as short as 10 minutes. One of my favorites is a 10-minute grounding NSDR Yoga Nidra session, and it gives me that mental alertness right away, especially in the afternoon when I'm dropping off a little bit. 20-20-20 is another one that's super easy. It's to help reduce eye strain and just help you just be grounded and not get so caught up with whatever is in front of you. And 20-20-20 is every 20 minutes, look out 20 feet for 20 seconds. The last one, social connection. This one is a true, in my view, one of the most powerful and effective methods for regulating emotions. Connecting with a coworker, reaching out to somebody that you trust. So I'm not going to go too much into, just wanted to share some of these with you and very quickly. And please write down the ones that you think that you can use right away. I selected the ones that are easy and ones that you can try immediately after this masterclass. And one meditation app that I highly recommend is called Insight Timer. Insight Timer, you'll have hundreds of guided meditations that are free of charge. You don't have to pay. You don't have to pay a membership fee. And that's where I get my yoga nidra meditation, guided meditations from. So let's do one together. And this one is called box breathing. So Dr. John Hewlett says that through controlling your breathing, you are controlling a critical part of the brain, and you can exercise control over the emotional state you are experiencing. So breathing deeply, as we did with the physiological sigh, it changes the chemistry in the brain, and it's like taking a natural anti-anxiety drug. So we're going to do just a quick couple of rounds of box breathing together. Navy SEALs use this. They use this in a lot of stress management courses. And it's simple. Just breathe in for 4 seconds, hold for 4, exhale, and then hold again. So let's do it together. Exhale for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 1, 2, 3, 4. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I can assure you that doing 2 or 3 sets will change your emotional state. It will calm you. And this is what we call a regulation strategy. You can share this. Children are so quick to learn these regulation techniques. Simple. So I'm going to just pause for a minute, let you take down some notes on the regulation techniques that we've shared. And then I'm going to move ahead to psychological resilience. Okay, as I said, resilience is a big topic, so we've teased it out and separated emotional and psychological. You know, uncertainty is a constant, but paralysis or freezing is optional. Psychological resilience means moving forward with small steps and getting support, and even when the path isn't clear. So, psychological resilience is your capacity to adapt to adversity and being able to persist through, even though it's uncertain and it's ambiguous. And coming back to purposeful action, even if it's a small step, instead of just avoiding or putting in rigid control. So in a moment, I'm going to ask you to take out your phones again for another slide out. This time I'm going to take a poll, and I'm going to see where you are on the resilience meter. So we have 5 levels. And when you are facing adversity, which level on the meter are you? So 1, the lowest level, you can get wobbly very quickly. You get thrown off. 2, it takes you off guard, but you can ride the waves, yet you still need a little bit more time to recover. Now, the average is a brave bouncer. You recover and then you move forward with conscious effort. On the other end, a shock absorber, you can quickly reset. You can mentally assess and then turn setbacks into your next moves. The unbreakable beacon, the top, the aspirational level, is that you remain calm and you leverage adversity. In fact, you welcome it because you know that it will help you to improve. So I'm going to ask you to select one. And are you able to select? Okay. All right. We got a few people. Okay. We got a couple of shock absorbers. Oh, we have 1 shock absorber. Okay. 1 unbreakable beacon. Wow. Who is the unbreakable beacon? Way to go. So let's get a few more. I'd like to see where you're all at. Okay, you got to hit send. Okay, any more? So we had 4 people. So we've got 2 shock absorbers. Oh, we have 6 now. Let's see. We have 3 shock absorbers, 1 storm surfer, 1 brave bouncer. I like to know who the unbreakable beacon is. Way to go. Whichever level you're at, this is just a fun way to look at how you assess yourself. And we probably are moving throughout towards during the course of a day. We might be one moment wobbly wheels, and then we go to shock absorber, we go to brave bouncer. It's no 2 days are ever the same. We are handling a lot more information than we used to. We're actually a lot more resilient than we used to be. And how do I know this? You got through 2020 to today. You're here. You're here in this room joining this masterclass. So just let you take that in before I go into a few approaches that can enhance your psychological resilience. So we're here to learn with each other. And really, it's about how to boost our ability to deal with adversity. We're not going to pretend that it doesn't exist. It happens. And I know that for some, it is more extreme. I feel like I'm in a lucky position. The kind of adversity I face, it's manageable, but that's not for everyone. People are going through different struggles day to day. Whatever happens, it is about bouncing back, taking the lessons and adding to our maturity and growing our muscle. So I before I go into the 3 approaches, I just want to put it out there. What is the biggest barrier standing in the way to psychological resilience? Is it incompetent leadership? Is it our inefficient systems or the frail economy? These are all real challenges. I mean, VUCA is real. We call VUCA volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. This is real. But the biggest and most persistent obstacle is often internal. And it's what we call the nagging voice of your inner critic. This is the voice that magnifies setbacks, questions your every move, and replays your mistakes on a loop. When you face adversity, your inner critic doesn't offer a helping hand. It actually kicks you when you're down. It's the self-doubt, and it is attacking our ability to bounce forward. So the good news is we can learn to manage it. And so we're going to share with you 3 approaches on how to turn down the volume of the inner critic and how to enhance your emotional or your psychological resilience. This you may have heard of before, locus of control. And we're going to talk about self-efficacy. And the third approach is Solomon's paradox. So just going to check here. Locus of control. So when we have an external locus of control, life seems to be dictated by outside forces. It's either luck, fate, the economy, or other people's decisions. When something goes wrong, the impulse is to look outside. The market is down, my manager is hopeless, or the CRM is outdated. And this puts us in a powerless position. Now, those who have psychological resilience have an internal locus of control. They know that they can't control everything, but they focus on what is within their control. And the internal dialogue is, the economy is tough, but what skills can I build? Or my boss is difficult, but how can I manage that relationship differently? So just note that this is not about blaming yourself. It's about claiming your power. And your inner critic thrives when you feel like a victim of circumstance. And your resilience will soar when you take agency of your own experience. So please do not use this model as an encouragement to incorporate hyper control in your life. It is about striking that balance. There are some things that you cannot control. It's about having the wisdom to know the difference. And Barb, who is an expert on time management, she will say that the one key action to move the needle from external to internal, because a lot of our stress is from a place of time poverty, when we feel that we are overstretched, there's not enough time. That is when the external locus of control can take over. So she can definitely help you with moving the needle. And she can help you prioritize. Now, she's very generous with her time and she offers a one-on-one session. If you're serious and you would like to have a conversation with her, do reach out and book some time with her. Now, I want to talk a little bit more about the mindset and the inner dialogue that goes on with external locus of control versus internal. So, external locus of control, the inner voice will say, things usually do not work out, so why bother? And then, why does this always happen to me? And it won't make a difference. So we want to shift from these kinds of statements and inner dialogue to switching it over to internal locus of control. I do have control of my future. I look for lessons in every setback. And I focus on things that I control. I have the ability to achieve my goals. I have a little quiz for locus of control that I'm just going to pop in the chat here. And then you can take this quiz to see where you are. I'm just going to pop this in the chat right now. Hang on. Whoops. Hang on, I'm not able to do that right now. Give me a minute and I will pop it in the chat. Okay. Locus of control. And this is a tool, and the tool is, I will pop this after I stop. I'll stop share for a moment. It's not always so seamless, is it, to go from chat to
No.
screen share, but I just want to check in to see how everyone is doing. I've got
Oh, you got it there. It dropped in the chat now. That's good.
okay, thank you. All right. So I'm going to continue and just want to see, how are you feeling about locus of control? Has anyone heard of this before?
I hadn't heard of it before, Cecilia, believe it or not. Yeah, but it makes sense.
Okay, I'm going to go back. And take the quiz and see where you're at. There's no judgment here. And same with the psychological resilience, or the piece we were talking about earlier, or the resilience meter. We do move from external to internal. And it's just having some practice and some guidance and some habits in place so that when we're shifting, when we're in external, that we can shift to internal. The next tool under psychological resilience is build self-efficacy. And I think we all understand what self-efficacy is. We didn't know that it's actually a tool. It is grounded in psychology, and it is a confidence that you have the skills and grit to handle what's in front of you. Like, imagine just saying that to yourself. I have what it takes to handle what's in front of me. Just say that and just get a sense of how that makes you feel, how different it feels when I say, I have what it takes. Locus of control is about my actions matter. Self-efficacy is about I am capable of taking those actions. So this isn't blind optimism or toxic positivity. It's the realistic and grounded belief that you have the skills and the resources to handle and to take this on, because you've done this before. you can draw upon a lot of your past experiences. So when your inner critic screams, you're going to fail, self-efficacy comes calmly and says, maybe, but I have what it takes to navigate this challenge. And I'll learn something either way. And the psychologist who coined or popularized this term he's Albert Bandura. And he says that in order to succeed, people need a sense of self-efficacy and resilience to meet the inevitable obstacles and the inequities of life. So it is out there, and self-efficacy is actually pretty straightforward. And this one tool, there's a toolbox again, if you want to take this on, it's just called strategic self-talk. It's pretty simple. So when the inner critic has something to say, what is your strategic self-talk to counter that nagging, that attacking voice? It isn't about lying to yourself. It's telling yourself a more useful and more resourceful truth. And your inner critic often, I don't know about yours, but mine deals with absolutes. And the resilient self-talk can focus on process, learning, and agency. And let's take a look at a few common scenarios. I'll show them in a minute. But how do you know when it's the inner critic? It's the voice will catastrophize situations. And the inner critic loves absolutes and making exaggerated claims like, I will never get ahead, or it is hopeless. It will take forever to learn. Notice that it's just a voice. And once the voice subsides, you have the ability to move forward. Another example is Brene Brown. She gives us a very powerful tool to challenge our inner critic and build self-efficacy. She says that whenever you feel that doubt creep in, simply pause and ask, what is the story that I'm telling myself right now? And so I have these little Post-its because I have a lot of voices that speak in absolutes. And then I have these little Post-its to remind, they're taped around my computer to remind me. So here are some examples. This is too huge and I'll never get it done. The strategic self-talk will say, this is difficult, but I don't have to do it all right now. What is one small step I can take today? It's like a mentor talking to you instead of the nagging negative voice. I can't believe I did that. I'm such an idiot. That's happened to me quite often. What the strategic self-talk will say, what did I learn from the attempt? What can I do differently next time? I'm not qualified to do this when we feel imposter syndrome. What can I do to feel a little bit more prepared or skilled at this? This one is a big one. I don't belong here. That it's very emotional as well. I'm here because I bring a unique perspective. What value can I add? So strategic self-talk, a really useful tool, simple, and one you could also write out and customize to your inner critic's voice. So the third approach is Solomon's paradox. And Solomon's paradox is, the name comes from King Solomon, who was legendary for giving wise advice to others, but made a mess of his own personal life. Now, I don't know if anyone, can anyone else relate to this? We're often wiser when reflecting on other people's problems than our own. We give really excellent advice to others, but we're not able to do this for ourselves. It's a psychological tendency to be better at solving others' problems than our own. So when we face a challenge, our views are clouded by emotional bias and, of course, our inner critic. So when we advise a friend, we're a lot more objective and compassionate. So this simple shift bypasses your emotional brain, the inner critic, and activates the wiser and more analytical thinking advisor, allowing yourself to give some great advice that you would give a friend. So there are two applications here. One is pretend that you are helping your best friend. So whatever situation you're in, whatever problem that you're trying to solve, pretend that you're helping your best friend with the same problem. What advice would you give them? And in what tone of voice would you talk to them in? So that's one. The second application is to distance yourself and imagine that someone more qualified or someone that you admire has taken over your role. What would they do? Now, they don't necessarily have to take over your role, but I use this quite a bit. And I would say, okay, if so and so, someone that I admire, this leader, or you could use someone that's a celebrity, like what would Oprah do? What would Richard Branson do in this situation? And then you would have a different perspective. So interestingly enough, your brain will approach the situation differently. So Andy Grove of Intel used this technique consistently as CEO. He would ask himself, if I was replaced tomorrow, what would my successor do? So the three approaches: locus of control. Second one is self-efficacy and Solomon's paradox. So what we're going to do, I'm just going to stop share for a moment here, and I am going to put you into a breakout room. And let's see. I'm going to put you into a breakout room, and we've covered quite a few tools and techniques so far: emotional resilience and psychological resilience. I'm going to ask you in your breakout rooms just to share something that has worked for you in the past, a technique or tool that has worked well for you, just to open it up a little bit more and to expand the tools and techniques that have real application, real world, and just not conceptual. So let me go back to our PowerPoint. So in this breakout room, you are going to share a time that you faced a significant setback. What is the one tool or technique or mindset shift, either one that was shared today or one of your own that you used to help you navigate it, and what made it effective? And I'm going to ask you to select a spokesperson to report back the one that you determine is the most prominent. You can share all of them, but select one that you feel really has a lot of meat behind it and one that was quite compelling. So you have 12 minutes to do this, and I'm just going to put you into the rooms, and let me see how many people are here. Hang on. I'm going to stop sharing. How are we doing? Are you ready to go into a breakout room to discuss? I think it'll be really interesting. So we have 6 people that we're going to be putting into rooms. So I'm going to put you 3 in one room, if that's okay with you. Let's see. All right. Are you ready? In a moment, you're going to be invited to go into the breakout room. You have plenty of time, and I'm going to ask you to each take a turn to share a couple of techniques that you have used when you face adversity. And then somebody can take note and report back when we come back to the main room. I'm actually going to set it for 10 minutes instead of 12. Okay, all right. Oh, I have to assign, oops. Okay, we'll see you back here in 10 minutes. It's okay. Sorry about that. Okay, I'm sorry about these interruptions. So here's a pre-mortem tool. Pre-mortem works like this, okay? So it's a pretty interesting exercise. You imagine, we are familiar with the post-mortem, but the pre-mortem is, you imagine it's 6 months from now and your project has failed. It feels counterintuitive, but it's called psychological magic because it frees people from the pressure to be optimistic and it gives them permission to raise their concerns. Instead of asking what might go wrong, which feels negative, you're performing a clever and creative analysis of a hypothetical past event. So you would say, why did it fail? And then brainstorm every possible reason for the failure, and then identify the most significant risks and create a plan to prevent them. So, with the list of potential failure points, you can create your risk mitigation plan. And now you are actively future proofing your success. This isn't negative thinking. It's what the experts call elite preparation. It is a form of critical and analytical thinking that's missing a lot in our day to day. So you're taking a moment of a potential future failure and fortifying it with strategic, resilient, and agile actions. The next tool in prospection is the if then, another very simple tool, and it's used for building new habits or overcoming obstacles that may derail targets. If then is actually a really good complement to premortem because you'll say for each identified obstacle, you have an if then plan. Well, if this happens, then what? If this happens, then what? And it outlines the specific action to take if that situation arises. The last skill is cognitive ability. And this is your ability to shift your thinking, to be flexible in your mental approach, and to let go of what's not working. And in a rapidly changing world, the most dangerous phrase is, but we've always done it this way. That is cognitive rigidity. Cognitive agility is the willingness to challenge your own assumptions and look at a problem from a completely different angle. So I'm going to draw on Adam Grant, who said that in a turbulent world, there may be another set of cognitive skills that might matter more, the ability to rethink and unlearn. I read his book, Think Again, in 2020, and this was probably one of the most pivotal books I read in the last few years. And I use it a lot in my training. He has a lot of models about thinking differently. So the 4 ways to develop cognitive agility, 1 is to cultivate a network of diverse backgrounds and perspectives. This is really widening perspectives. Number 2 is to be willing to change your mind. This is a big one. This is highlighted in Adam Grant's book. Number 3 is to be aware of your cognitive biases. And Barb is going to pop in the chat 50 cognitive biases categorized in political, emotional, social. These are really interesting. Have a look through them and you'll be a little taken aback at how many actually that we allow to cloud our judgments day to day. The 4th one is when in doubt, ask questions, not double down. Now, I'm not able to go deep into this one, but this one is particularly interesting. I read a book called Why Minds Change by David McRaney, and he says that when people are presented with facts that contradict their beliefs, they often double down. So you can't change their mind by giving people facts. And this in reverse is when you are not sure, do not double down. Practice curiosity, ask questions. It's because when we're faced with information that clashes with deeply held beliefs, individuals experience psychological discomfort. So you want to flip it because it is uncomfortable. But what you're doing is you're really practicing cognitive agility by asking questions. So Barb has popped into the chat the 50 cognitive biases. And the one tool is the reframe. It's a very simple tool. And it just says, how do you change it and see it as an opportunity? It's consciously changing the frame you put around a situation. So I have some examples here, and we'll send this to you with your follow-up email because I'm conscious of time and I really want to wrap this up on time. So this one example, the new automation software is going to make my job obsolete. But the opportunity frame is, what if this new software could free me from tedious tasks? So I'm going to wrap up, and I'm sorry that's a little rush, but We covered a lot today. We started with the 21st century workplace, essential skills, resilience and agility are superpowers. And we talked about future-proofing your skills with emotional resilience, psychological resilience, prospection, and cognitive agility. So that brings us to our wrap up. And we have a number of masterclasses coming up. So I highly recommend Barb's upcoming Tame Your Email Overload. And then we have a few more. Next week, I'm presenting one on respectful, not reactive. This is one on giving feedback, negative feedback, challenging feedback to team members. So I'm going to wrap up, and we have a book to give away. This is Tomorrow Mind by Gabriella Rosen Kellerman, and Marty Seligman is the father of positive psychology. He was the one who started the movement in the 90s and has written a number of books. So Barb has got the wheel, and I'm going to stop share and pass it over.
Alrighty. This is my favorite part. While I'm doing this, can I just say to Cecilia, what I found really interesting in that last part is how so many of those tools that you've talked about and those techniques, we get taught as mediators, we get taught to apply some of those to help resolve conflict. So I just found that so, it was like I was going, yep, know that one, know that one. It's just so interesting. All right. Okay.
Thanks, Barb.
All right, so you should see the talk. So there's a couple of people that have dropped off, so I've left them in the wheel. If we land on them, too bad, so sad you didn't stay to the end, you don't win the prize. And we will do a respin. So is everybody ready? I love this bit. This is the fun bit. All right, here we go. Oh, Michael, too bad, so sad you weren't here, Michael. No, we're going to remove Michael because he's not here, and we're going to spin again. All right. Oh, Renee! She's here! Yay!
Congratulations, Renee.
Thank you. I never win. It's one of those never win anything things.
So we'll get your address and I'll post the book to you. I've ordered it and they were supposed to arrive today so I could show you, but they're arriving in a couple of days and then I'll mail it to you from Canada.
All the way from Canada.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, Ian had little crossed fingers in the chat.
I know. Ian, I want to hear about your 26 score. That's incredible. So it's been great having you here, and thank you for staying to the end. I apologize for going a couple minutes over time, and we'll send you the follow-up cheat sheet, which has all the models and the examples, and then we'd love to hear from you on what tools and techniques that you're able to apply immediately, because these are all very practical, very useful. And I'm just gonna leave it open before you log off. If you'd like to share a comment, something that you learned, something that you found useful, that would be great. We'd love to hear from you. Or you can pop in the chat.
Mark, you had your microphone open before. Was there something you wanted to say?
No, I was just going to congratulate the winner of the book, which I was able to do.
Thanks.
And I know some of you can't, you're technically challenged and you can't open up your mic or your camera. So you're welcome to type something. Great. Thanks, Anil, for your feedback. So if you've got some tips from this,